You usually think of prestige as something carved in stone.
Right. Yeah, like it's permanent.
Exactly. You look at a centuries-old university, right? You've got the ivy crawling up the brick walls, the worn stone steps leading into some grand library, and it just feels, it feels immovable, like a monument to human excellence.
Well, it's designed to feel that way. I mean, we
Yeah.
inherently want human achievement to be visible,
Yeah.
and enduring. We like things categorized into neat little lists that make sense of the world.
Yeah, totally.
Those stone walls are basically supposed to be a fortress of pure, unadulterated knowledge.
But what if I told you that the very act of researching those hallowed halls online is actually feeding a massive, totally invisible surveillance matrix?
Oh, it is a wild contrast.
It really is. Today, we are taking you on a journey. And we're starting with Nobel laureates and the absolute purest pursuit of scientific discovery. But we are ending up with 1,022 advertising partners tracking, like, your every single move.
Yeah, it takes a dark turn pretty fast.
It does. So we are diving into the 2025 QS World University Rankings. We're looking at the absolute pinnacle of global elite higher education. The very places that are building the future of artificial intelligence and medicine and space exploration.
And then right after that, we're taking a very hard turn. We're going to use the 2026 Times Higher Education World University Rankings.
But not to look at their list of schools, right?
Exactly. Not for the schools. We're going to basically rip open the floorboards of their website.
Right.
We're using their massive back-end data and privacy policy as a map to, really understand the modern data economy.
It is a totally wild ride from, like, pristine academia to hyper-commercialized digital tracking. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
We have to start at the absolute summit. When we look at the 2025 QS rankings, we are looking at the current definition of the best globally.
Right. And they measure this by looking at academic reputation, research quality, and global influence.
And sitting right there at the top, the undisputed crown jewel at rank number 1 is the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT.
And, MIT being number 1 isn't just about them having smart professors. It represents a fundamental shift in what a university actually is in the 21st century.
Right. It's not just chalkboards and exams anymore.
Not at all.
It's the ultimate symbol of technological and scientific excellence. We are talking about the place pioneering computer science, artificial intelligence, clean energy breakthroughs, quantum computing.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the modern elite university has evolved into an incubator. It is literally a place where innovation becomes reality.
Wow.
Think about the mechanism of how MIT operates. They don't just teach theory. They have an entire infrastructure dedicated to tech transfer.
What do you mean by tech transfer exactly?
Well, it's like when you have an alumni list consisting of Nobel laureates, Fortune 500 CEOs, and literal astronauts.
Literal astronaut.
Right. You are essentially operating a factory for inventing the future.
Right.
They take raw intellectual capital, they pair it with massive research funding, and they just spin out entire industries.
A factory for the future. I love that. And proximity matters too, right? Like, you look at MIT and it's surrounded by Tyndall Square, which is just jam-packed with biotech and tech firms.
Oh, absolutely. And those firms feed directly off the university's research.
Right. But then right behind MIT, we see this incredible, dense concentration of power across the Atlantic, the UK powerhouses.
Yeah, the UK is dominating that top tier.
Imperial College London takes the number 2 spot, Oxford is number 3, Cambridge is number 5, and University College London, or UCL, is number 9.
The concentration of UK institutions in that echelon is it's remarkable.
Sure.
And it really comes down to a very specific synthesis of ancient tradition and massive modern integration.
Let's break that down a bit, because the scope of their impact is just massive. Take Imperial College London at number 2. Their work spans from space research to global health. And how do they do it? Through these massive globe-spanning partnerships with NASA, Microsoft, and the National Health Service, the NHS.
That NHS partnership is the crucial mechanism there. Why is Imperial so dominant in health sciences? Because in modern medical research, data is the ultimate currency.
Oh, interesting. So it's a data play.
Totally. The NHS is one of the largest single-payer healthcare systems in the world. That means it possesses an incredibly vast, centralized pool of patient data.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
So when Imperial researchers pair their brilliant medical minds with, say, Microsoft's immense computational power.
To crunch all that NHS data.
Exactly. To analyze that massive data set, you get medical breakthroughs that a smaller, isolated lab simply cannot achieve. It's basically an economy of scale applied to human biology.
That makes total sense. You need the compute, you need the data, and you need the brains. And Imperial has figured out how to lock all three together. And then you have Oxford, which is, the oldest university in the English-speaking world. You think of Oxford and you just think of ancient dining halls and Latin chants.
Right, very Harry Potter.
Yeah. But they are leading the world in medicine and artificial intelligence. And Cambridge, with an 800-year legacy setting the standard from Isaac Newton to Stephen Hawking, is now leading the charge in biotechnology and sustainability.
It is the ultimate leverage of historical capital. I like to think of it like prestige acts a lot like gravity.
Okay, how so?
Once a university reaches a certain mass of historical wealth and reputation, over 800 years, in Cambridge's case, it begins to literally bend the global research market around itself.
Oh, wow.
They use that ancient, entrenched prestige to attract the absolute cutting-edge modern talent. I mean, if you want to study AI, why not do it in the exact same halls where Newton walked? It's an intoxicating pitch for top researchers.
Yeah, I'd fall for that pitch for sure. And then UCL at number 9 rounds out that UK group. They were founded on this incredibly progressive belief of, quote, education for all, and now they are pioneering neuroscience and architecture.
Yeah, they've carved out a really strong niche.
But shifting back to the States, we have the American Titans holding down the rest of the top 10. You've got Harvard at number 4, Stanford at number 6, and Caltech at number 10.
And what's fascinating is that each of those three American institutions utilizes a completely different mechanism to maintain their dominance.
Exactly. Like Harvard is just this massive, impenetrable beacon of academic power across basically every discipline. Law, business, medicine, government.
Right, it's the ultimate generalist powerhouse.
But then Stanford is described as the beating heart of Silicon Valley. I mean, its graduates founded Google and Netflix.
Yeah, let's look at the Stanford mechanism for a second, because it perfectly explains how a university becomes a heart of an entire economic sector. It's a closed-loop ecosystem.
A closed loop.
Yeah. Stanford breeds the talent that founds companies like Google. Then those companies grow to trillion-dollar valuations right in Stanford's backyard.
Right.
The founders then pour massive philanthropic capital back into the university, and the companies hire the next generation of graduates. The university and the industry become so deeply intertwined that you almost can't tell where the campus ends and Silicon Valley begins.
Wow. And Caltech does the exact same thing, but instead of the internet, it's like the cosmos.
Exactly.
Their partnership with the Jet Propulsion Lab means if you are a top-tier astrophysicist or an aerospace engineer, your research isn't just theoretical, it is literally being built into rovers that are driving on Mars.
That level of applied science is an incredible magnet for talent. You aren't just writing papers, you're touching the stars.
We also have to look at the European and Asian giants that have broken into that top tier, though, because ETH Zurich sits at number 7 and the National University of Singapore, NUS, is at number 8.
Right, the Swiss and the Singaporeans holding their own.
ETH Zurich is amazing. It was Albert Einstein's alma mater, which is huge, and today it operates as Europe's engineering giant. They're totally driving progress in robotics and green energy.
Yeah, they are a massive force in Europe.
And NUS is Asia's innovation powerhouse. They have this vibrant, futuristic campus that is just pushing the absolute boundaries of AI, robotics, and medicine.
What ETH, Zurich, and NUS share is the advantage of being the absolute, undisputed crown jewels of state-backed engineering in their respective regions.
Oh, so it's a state support thing.
Absolutely. When a nation decides that technological supremacy is a matter of economic survival, they funnel immense resources into their top institutions. They don't have to rely purely on alumni donations like the U.S. schools. They have the full weight of national strategy behind them.
Okay, so looking at this whole top 10 MIT, Imperial, Oxford, Harvard, Cambridge, Stanford, ETH Zurich, NUS, UCL, Caltech, are these universities basically functioning like legacy tech monopolies at this point?
That's a really interesting way to frame it.
Well, think about it. They have boundless financial resources, they have historical brand recognition that spans centuries, and they have these highly exclusive partnerships with entities like NASA, the NHS, and massive tech conglomerates.
Right.
It feels almost impossible for any newer, purely merit-based institution to ever break into that top tier. Like, they have built an uncrossable moat around their prestige.
It really is a monopoly on brilliance.
Well,
And prestige is a compounding asset, you know?
how so?
The more prestige you have, the easier it is to attract the best minds.
Yeah.
And when the best minds publish the most cited research, your prestige increases further. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, the rich get richer.
Exactly. A brand new, perfectly designed university with brilliant professors simply doesn't have the gravitational pull of a Harvard or an Oxford. However,
Yeah.
if you look closely at the rankings, they do show a disruption happening.
Really? Where?
The moat isn't totally invincible, but the breach isn't happening in the US or the UK.
Right, because if you look just beyond that legacy top 10, the most dramatic story unfolding in the 2025 QS rankings is the massive geographic shift of academic power. We are seeing an incredible ascendance of the Asia-Pacific region and Australia.
What's fascinating here is the strategy these rising institutions are employing. They aren't trying to beat Oxford at being Oxford.
No, they're playing a different game.
Exactly. They are charting an entirely different course, aligning their academic output directly with the existential needs of their regions.
Let's start with the Australian leaders because their pivot is so clear. The University of Melbourne is at number 13, Australia's highest-ranked school. It blends its traditions with modern excellence in health sciences and law and operates this massive multicultural campus with students from over 150 countries.
Yeah, it's a huge international hub.
Then you have the University of Sydney at 18, mixing iconic sandstone buildings with world-class innovation. And right on its heels, UNSW Sydney at 19.
And UNSW is a really perfect example of this pivot.
Yeah. They are explicitly called out for producing bold thinkers and focusing heavily on environmental science, sustainability research, and having super close industry links.
The mechanism driving the Australian rise is a direct response to their geographic and climate reality. I mean, Australia is on the front lines of climate change.
Right, from massive wildfires to coral reef degradation with the Great Barrier Reef.
Exactly. They have recognized that environmental science and sustainability aren't just niche subjects. They are critical to the future of the nation and, honestly, the world.
So they just specialize.
Yes. Universities like UNSW and Melbourne are pivoting massive amounts of funding and research into becoming the undisputed global leaders in climate science and renewable energy.
That's smart.
They are attracting international students and researchers who want to be at the absolute forefront of the green transition. They are climbing the ranks by owning the research space that will define the next 50 years.
And then you pivot over to China's technological superpowers. Peking University is at number 14, and Tsinghua University is at number 20.
Both incredible institutions.
Peking is one of Asia's oldest, most respected institutions. They excel in science and humanities, producing top leaders in politics and research. But Tsinghua represents China's absolute rise as a scientific and technological superpower.
Undeniably.
It's the top destination for AI, quantum computing, and sustainability, with incredibly strong ties to global tech leaders.
The rise of Tsinghua is basically a masterclass in state-directed academic focus. The mechanism here is perfect alignment with national agendas.
Like the government is steering the ship.
Entirely. China has explicitly stated its goal to be the world leader in artificial intelligence and quantum computing by 2030. And Tsinghua is the engine built to achieve that goal.
So it's not a fragmented approach where professors are just, researching whatever obscure thing they find interesting. It's highly targeted.
Highly targeted and massively funded. When a nation of over 1 billion people decides to direct its absolute brightest minds into a concentrated pipeline focusing on a few key future technologies, the output of research, patents, and breakthroughs scales exponentially.
Wow.
They are climbing the rankings because the sheer volume and quality of their technological research is just staggering.
And sitting geographically right in the middle of all this, we have what we can call the bridge cities, Singapore and Hong Kong.
Right, the connectors.
Nanyang Technological University, or NTU, is at number 15. The way its futuristic campus is described, it basically mirrors Singapore's vision of a smart city. It's rapidly rising through robotics and engineering.
And NTU is incredible to look at.
And then the University of Hong Kong, HKU, at number 17, literally bridges East and West. It wields massive global influence in medicine, AI, and public policy, while emphasizing a commitment to free inquiry.
NTU is a perfect example of a university integrating with its environment. Singapore operates with a hyper-efficient, forward-looking urban strategy, that smart city concept you mentioned, and NTU uses its campus as a literal testing ground for this.
Wait, how does that work in practice?
Think about the infrastructure required to test autonomous vehicles, or drone delivery networks, or AI-driven power grids.
You need a lot of space and sensors.
Right. And you can't easily retrofit an 800-year-old cobblestone town in Europe to test these things.
Oh, true. Like, Cambridge is not built for drone deliveries.
Exactly. But NTU's campus is specifically designed to be a living laboratory. They attract top robotics and engineering talent because they can offer an environment where researchers can deploy and test their innovations in the real world immediately. It's an infrastructural advantage.
So the pattern here is crystal clear. The Asia-Pacific schools are explicitly climbing the ranks by tying their academic output to future-focused national agendas.
Yes, 100%.
Singapore wants to be a model smart city, so NTU builds the robotics to make it happen. China wants tech supremacy, so Tsinghua becomes an AI and quantum computing juggernaut. Australia faces harsh climate realities, so UNSW and Melbourne pivot hard into environmental science.
It's all connected.
They are tying their academic prestige directly to geopolitical and economic necessity.
It's a strategy of future-proofing. They are betting that the university that solves the problems of 2050 will eventually outrank the university that defined 1950.
Man, that is a really profound way to put it. Which brings us perfectly to the traditional stalwarts of North America and Europe, sitting in ranks 11 through 25, because they are the ones who defined the last century.
The Legacy Guard.
Yeah.
They're facing a fascinating tension right now between their incredible histories and the necessity of modern innovation.
You look at the Ivy League and the elite U.S. schools in this tier. The University of Pennsylvania, UPenn, is at 11, bridging business and science through the Wharton School.
Right, classic business powerhouse.
UC Berkeley is at 12, the birthplace of the free speech movement, but also the alma mater of the founders of Apple, Intel, and Tesla. Cornell is at 16, blending Ivy tradition with a real-world, rural to Silicon Valley impact driven by their motto, any person, any study.
They're balancing vastly different types of pedigree.
And it goes on. UChicago is at 21, known as a place where ideas challenge convention. I mean, it's the birthplace of the first controlled nuclear reaction and home to a staggering number of Nobel economists.
Yeah, the Chicago School of Economics is legendary.
Princeton is at 22, offering small, intimate classes and the towering legacy of Albert Einstein. Yale is at 23, founded way back in 1701, shaping presidents and CEOs in its ivy-covered New Haven campus.
All resting on massive historical foundations.
And we have to mention the international hubs, too. University PSL in France is at 24, sitting in the heart of Paris, combining elite institutions to attract Nobel laureates. And the University of Toronto in Canada at 25, a groundbreaking leader in AI and medicine with over 700 undergraduate programs and one of the most diverse campuses on Earth.
When you look at the North American and European schools in this tier, their mechanism for maintaining prestige relies heavily on rigorous academics, deeply unique campus cultures, and monumental historical milestones.
And this is what I keep wondering, are these older Western schools primarily selling their history?
That's the big question.
Because you read through their profiles, and they rely so heavily on the ghosts of their past. Einstein at Princeton, the first nuclear reactions at UChicago, the founding fathers at Yale, Benjamin Franklin founding UPenn.
It's all looking backwards.
Yeah. If the Asian schools are pitching the future of quantum computing and smart cities, are these legacy schools coasting on the momentum of past centuries?
That is the defining tension of global elite education today. The legacy institutions are essentially selling proximity to greatness. The pitch is lineage.
Lineage, like royalty.
Exactly. When you sit in a lecture hall at Princeton or Yale, you are supposedly absorbing the ambiance of history. You are joining a continuum of power. But, as the rise of the Asia-Pacific school shows, lineage alone has a diminishing return.
Right, you can't just point to a statue of Einstein if the university across the world is actively building a functioning quantum computer.
Precisely. Which is why you see institutions like Berkeley heavily emphasizing their connection to Apple and Tesla founders, or the University of Toronto front-loading their leadership in modern AI. They understand that to keep their rank, they have to prove that their historical foundation is still capable of generating the future.
That makes total sense. So up to this point, we've been talking about these institutions as if they exist on a pedestal. We've explored the laboratories, the history, the prestige, the noble pursuit of knowledge.
The idealized version of global education.
Exactly. This is the idealized version. But how do we actually interact with these institutions today?
We research them, we look for metrics, we go to the internet.
We go to ranking websites, and here is where we take our hard, completely unexpected left turn.
Buckle up.
So we looked at the QS 2025 rankings, but we also analyzed the source material for the 2026 Times Higher Education, or the AE, World University Rankings website. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
The source text we have for the 2026 site isn't a list of schools.
No, not at all. It is a massive, labyrinthine privacy and cookie policy.
When you pull back the digital curtain on these ranking websites, all that nobility and prestige completely vanishes. You aren't stepping into a library anymore, you're stepping into a data harvesting labyrinth.
It's jarring.
The 2026 policy explicitly states they operate alongside an ecosystem of 1,022 third-party advertising partners. 1,022 partners.
The irony is profound when you think about the mechanism of this ecosystem. These ranking sites are the modern gatekeepers of academic prestige, right?
Right.
They direct millions of highly valuable users to their pages. Think about the demographic.
Ambitious high school students?
Yes. Wealthy parents willing to pay international tuition, high-level academic researchers, policymakers. It is an incredibly concentrated funnel of the brightest, most aspiring, and often wealthiest demographics on the planet.
Oh, wow. So they are a prime target.
Exactly. And consequently, the website itself becomes a highly lucrative, highly sophisticated data mining operation.
It's a gold mine. Let's look at the specific scale of the tracking they are requesting based purely on the text of their policy, because it's not just a simple hit counter like in the 90s.
Far from it.
They ask to store and access info on your device. They explicitly ask to identify your device by actively scanning it for specific characteristics. This is a process known as fingerprinting.
And fingerprinting is a fascinating and highly invasive technical mechanism. Most people think tracking is just about cookies, little text files a website leaves on your browser.
Right, and the advice is always, just clear your cookies.
Exactly. If you clear your cookies, you think you're hidden.
Mm-hmm.
But fingerprinting bypasses cookies entirely.
Wait, how does it actually do that? If they don't leave a file on my computer, how do they know it's me?
It looks at the unique configuration of your specific machine. When your browser connects to a website, it hands over a lot of technical data just to render the page correctly.
Like what kind of data?
It tells the site your screen resolution, your operating system, your battery level, what specific fonts you have installed, and what language your keyboard is set to.
Wait, my battery level? Why do they need to know my battery level?
They don't need to know it for the website to work. But the tracker takes all those tiny, seemingly innocuous data points and combines them. The chance of someone else having the exact same combination of fonts, screen size, battery status, and browser plugins is astronomically low.
Oh, I see. So it creates a unique profile.
Yes, they create a unique digital Hasha fingerprint. So even if you never accept a single cookie, they know exactly who you are every single time you visit.
That is incredibly stealthy. And the policy goes further than just that. They ask to collect precise geographical location, and they define precise location as within a radius of less than 500 meters.
That's your specific neighborhood.
It really is. They want to create profiles for personalized advertising. They track cross-device, so they figure out that the phone looking up MIT is owned by the exact same person whose laptop was looking up Caltech yesterday.
They connect the dots.
They even state they match and combine data from offline sources.
Which naturally leads to the question, why do 1,022 different partners need this level of granular data on a site dedicated to university rankings? What is the actual application of this surveillance?
Right. To understand that, we have to look at the specific real-world examples provided right there in the source text of the privacy policy. They actually tell you how the data sausage is made.
Yeah, they spell it out.
They walk you through how triangulation works. Let me read you these hypotheticals they use to explain their tracking. Example 1. If you read several articles about the best bike accessories to buy, and you also look at a configurator for a vehicle on a luxury car manufacturer website, this information could be combined to refine your profile and make an assumption that you are interested in luxury cycling gear.
Notice the mechanism of synthesis there. They are taking siloed behaviors, reading about bikes on site A, looking at luxury cars on site B, and synthesizing them into a high-value, highly specific demographic profile.
So they know I'm not just a cyclist, but a cyclist with money.
Exactly. You are no longer just an anonymous user. You are a wealthy outdoor enthusiast.
Yeah.
And they can charge advertisers a massive premium to target that specific profile.
And example 2 goes even further. An apparel company wishes to promote its new line of high-end baby clothes. It gets in touch with an agency that has a network of clients with high-income customers, such as high-end supermarkets, and asks the agency to create profiles of young parents or couples who can be assumed to be wealthy and to have a new child.
This is where the online and offline worlds merge, which is terrifying.
Truly.
They're taking physical world data, the fact that you use a loyalty card at a high-end supermarket, and combining it with online predictive analytics.
So because I bought organic avocados and baby formula at the store?
They are triangulating your grocery shopping habits with your presumed parental status to sell you high-end baby clothes, all while you are just visiting a website to see if UCL is better than Imperial College for an engineering degree.
It feels like an incredible overreach. And then example 3 focuses on the value of negative data.
Oh, this one is fascinating.
Let me read it. The owner of an online bookstore wants commercial reporting showing the proportion of visitors who consulted and left its site without buying, or consulted and bought the last celebrity autobiography of the month, as well as the average age and the male-female distribution of each category.
Think about what that means.
They aren't just tracking what you buy, they are intensely analyzing the demographics of the people who didn't buy. Your hesitation, your window shopping is quantified and sold.
Now, a listener might be thinking, well, I just won't click accept on the cookie banner. I'll just say no.
Right. We all get those banners. You assume you are in control when you visit these sites.
But you aren't. Because this brings us to a vital legal and technical concept mentioned throughout the document: the difference between consent and legitimate interest.
Okay, what is legitimate interest?
It's a loophole. Under privacy laws like the GDPR, many of these 1,022 vendors don't actually rely on your consent. They utilize a legal loophole called legitimate business interest.
Wait, so they don't even ask?
No. The text explicitly states that some partners process your data based on this legitimate interest rather than asking for your permission. They claim this allows them to process your non-precise location, your device type, and your interaction data to measure ad performance, build audiences, and develop services.
All without you ever actively opting in.
Exactly. The burden is entirely on you to manually dig into the settings and explicitly object to their legitimate interests, which by design almost no one ever does because it requires navigating a labyrinth of toggle switches.
I mean, imagine you're walking into an open house at Yale. Right.
Okay, paint the picture.
You're walking through the historic halls, you're taking in the prestige, looking at the library, but every single person you pass in the hallway, the student guide, the professors, the janitorial staff, is secretly taking detailed notes on you.
Very detailed note.
They are writing down the brand of your watch, the scuffs on your shoes, who you are holding hands with, and what kind of car you parked outside. And before you even walk out the front doors, they have compiled a dossier and sold it to a luxury car dealership across town.
Sounds like a spy movie.
But that is exactly what is happening digitally when you browse these prestige ranking sites.
It's a perfect encapsulation of the reality. And when we examine the actual roster of these 1,022 partners named in the document, the scope of the surveillance matrix becomes completely undeniable.
Let's do a deep dive into the names actually listed in there. Because first, you have the massive tech giants, right?
The usual suspects.
Yeah. Amazon Ads is there, monitoring your ad clicks across the web. Google is present with multiple trackers, including DoubleClick. Meta Platforms, which is Facebook, is dropping their pixel to facilitate real-time bidding. LinkedIn is there, Twitter is there, TikTok is heavily present, tracking embedded services via multiple cookies like _TTP and TTT_pixel_session_index.
And that TikTok pixel is particularly potent because its entire purpose is to bridge your behavior on the open web back to their hyper-addictive algorithmic feed.
But the tech giants are really just the tip of the iceberg. The real bulk of this labyrinth consists of hidden ad tech brokers.
Yeah, the companies operating in the shadows.
These are companies most people have literally never heard of, but they are processing massive amounts of personal data. Companies explicitly named like BranchMetrics, BidSwitch, Crimtan. There's one called Hotjar. Hotjar is wild.
Hotjar is very aggressive.
It literally saves your screen size down to the pixel, ostensibly to adjust the size of images. But the mechanism of Hotjar involves tracking your exact page interactions, what sub-images you enter, your average time spent, and it can even generate heat maps of exactly where your mouse cursor hovered on the screen.
It's watching you read.
Literally. And then there are the internal trackers from the World University Rankings themselves. They use a cookie called RLL_user_ID. The document explains that this sets a unique ID for the visitor that allows third-party advertisers to target them with relevant ads.
And this pairing service is provided by third-party advertisement hubs, which facilitates something called real-time bidding.
Okay, real-time bidding. How does that actually work? Because it happens so fast we don't even notice it.
It is basically an automated financial market operating in the background of your browser.
Like a stock market.
Exactly like a high-frequency stock market. When you click a link to view the ranking of MIT, the page doesn't just load. In the milliseconds before the page appears on your screen, the website broadcasts your unique digital profile, your fingerprint, your estimated income, your browsing history to an automated ad exchange.
In milliseconds.
Yes. Algorithms from various advertisers analyze your profile and instantly bid against each other for the right to show you an ad. The highest bidder wins, their ad is retrieved, and the web page finally loads.
That is insane.
All of this data packaging, auctioning, and selling of your eyeballs happens in less than a tenth of a second.
It is an invisible, high-frequency stock market where you are the commodity.
That is exactly what it is.
And what absolutely blew my mind when reading this policy was the absurdity of the storage durations for these trackers.
The lifespans are shocking.
They really are. Some of them are just session cookies, meaning they theoretically disappear when you close your browser, but others. Many ad profiling cookies from vendors like Epsilon or AppNexus claim to hold your data for 20,190 days.
That is 6 full years.
Or a company called Archie that sets a profile for personalized advertising that lasts 3,650 days. That is 10 full years of tracking from a single visit to a university ranking site.
Think about the timeline of 10 years. The longevity of that data is just staggering. It means a high school sophomore who is just starting to casually research colleges could theoretically still be targeted based on that exact demographic profile when they're finishing a master's degree, getting married, or buying their first house a decade later.
Wow.
Your ambition at age 15 is locked in a database until you are 25.
But the ultimate irony in all of this, the absolute peak of this digital labyrinth, is the cookie from consent.cookiebot.com.
This is the best part.
The cookie called Cookie Consent, the one that simply remembers whether you clicked yes or no to being tracked in the first place, stores your choice for a staggering 12,291 days.
Which is over 33 years.
Wait, hold on. 33 years. They want to remember your cookie preference until you are practically ready to retire. You look up a ranking for Oxford in 2026, and they hold on to that consent state until the year 2059.
It's almost comical. But it raises a profoundly important question. If millions of ambitious students globally are funneling onto these sites to research the pristine halls of academia, what does it mean that their ambition is immediately quantified, packaged, and sold via real-time bidding?
It's depressing, honestly.
It suggests a reality where the student is not just a seeker of knowledge. They are the raw material being processed to fund the infrastructure of prestige. The pursuit of education is elevated, but the machinery that directs us toward it is deeply entrenched in the aggressive, extractive practices of the data economy.
Let's summarize the incredible journey we've just been on. We started at the peak of human achievement. We looked at MIT incubating the future, the UK powerhouses leveraging their centuries of gravity and massive data partnerships, and the American titans feeding the engines of Silicon Valley and space exploration.
We examined the dramatic shift toward the Asia-Pacific. We saw how institutions in Australia, China, and Singapore aren't just resting on history, but are actively aligning their academic output with existential national agendas like climate change, AI supremacy, and smart city infrastructure.
Yeah, and we saw the legacy stalwarts wrestling with how to balance their incredible histories with the need for modern innovation. But then, we pulled back the digital curtain. We traveled down into the invisible 1022 partner tracking matrix, operating quietly beneath the surface of the very websites that rank those noble institutions.
It was quite the descent.
We walked through the mechanisms of fingerprinting, the blending of offline grocery data with online profiles, the real-time bidding auctions, and those unbelievable tenure tracking cookies.
It reveals a sharp duality. You have the absolute purest form of human inquiry at the university level, surrounded by a moat of the most commercialized surveillance tech imaginable at the discovery level.
And I want to connect this directly back to you. In the modern information economy, simply seeking knowledge about the world's most prestigious institutions inherently turns you into a highly valuable data point.
You become the product.
You are looking at the universities, but the digital economy is looking right back at you. Every click, every hesitation on a page, every comparison between Harvard and Stanford, it's all being fed into a profile that assumes your income, your interests, and your future.
Knowledge comes with a price, and increasingly, that price is your digital privacy.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought to mull over. We've seen how these top-tier universities are increasingly focusing on data science, AI, and quantum computing to climb these very world rankings. They're building the smartest algorithms on Earth.
Oh, absolutely.
So, how long until the universities themselves start tapping into these exact same hyper-targeted cross-device profiling networks?
Right, the ones tracking your bike searches and grocery habits.
Exactly. How long until admissions departments use that 10-year trail of shadow data to actively recruit or silently reject prospective students before they ever even hit the apply button?
That's a terrifying thought.
If the data is out there and it lasts for decades, why wouldn't the ultimate gatekeepers of prestige use it?
It is a logical, if chilling, evolution of the admissions process. The dossier is already being built.
Something to think about the next time you browse. Thank you so much for coming on this incredible deep dive into the sources with us today. Until next time, stay curious.